see we've done a lot of work on the frame of the trailer. Done some welding after everything was tacked up and triple checked to be square, perfect. Checked all the timbering, axleless suspension, really beefy stuff as you can see there. Chose to go with the cross member here. So you have to go with one of two things there, either a cross member across or stiffen up the frame because there's a lot of torsion in these because of not having your traditional axle. So here's the cross member here. You can see that's been bolted in place. It's been bolted into the frame and torqued to the proper specifications. There was a lot of design work done, as you saw in the initial video, to place the water tanks, get the water flow just right. I ended up changing things as we went along. Because I was reading, and if you're going to have sewer flow or water flow from a drain, you need 1/4 inch per foot minimum for a house or anything that's going to stay put. For a trailer, you probably want a little bit more than that in case you're not completely level. But drain pipes are a little tricky if you don't have enough fall. Obviously, things will get stuck, and if you have too much fall, it doesn't carry the solids down the drain pipe. So really the best thing that's recommended at most of for RVs in general is to put the black tank directly below the toilet. That was not really an option with what we were doing because the usable space, as you've seen inside the trailer for walking, is only about 2 foot by 3 foot. And so to keep that at a minimum, the shower pan got pushed out to the outside. So you can see for the toilet to drop here over the black tank wasn't really feasible, and you'll be able to see that a little bit more clearly in a minute. But I did move that back behind the axle, which did affect the weight balance as I've shown in the other video. So I went back and recalculated the weight balance. Again, the main design criteria of this trailer was to keep the track width and the overall width exactly the same as the Land Cruiser that we're pulling it with. And I highly recommend that if you're going to be using your trailer off-road at all. That I've pulled a trailer that is significantly wider and it just clips on things and it's going over different bumps and ruts and just creating a lot of different problems. So what we've done here, you can see in the framework that's all been welded in place is the supports for the different tanks, and I'll show you those tanks in just a second, but you can see where those are going to go. We've welded a series of brackets here that is just flat steel with some bolts cut off and welded on the ends and some little pieces of angle iron. So once the tank is in place, these will go right into these holes here. Hold that in place, tighten those up. We've used 3 on the black tank and 2 on the gray water tank because that's a 16-gallon tank, and we've used a 27-gallon tank for the black tank. So you can see what I've done here intentionally is spaced these angle irons up a little bit, so they actually will act as a stop for the tank, so it's not going to slide around and it's going to be secured with those straps. We're also going to use these 1/4 inch rubber pieces that we're going to be adhering to the tanks with silicone, and they'll go roughly at these same locations where the tanks will go. Again, maybe unnecessary, but just a little extra cushion so as we move around off-road and these things are bouncing around a little bit, we don't have steel direct contact onto our tanks, because obviously a leak out in the middle of nowhere really is not what we're going for. So here's the black tank. All of these tanks came from Class A Customs. There's a lot of places on the internet and other places to get tanks. Class A was they have a lot of really helpful information on the internet, delivered things extremely fast, very good prices, just real good quality stuff. So this is the tank. You can see that there's a 3-inch vent here, or a 3-inch hole here that I will be putting a reducer on to run a 1/2-inch vent out. You do need to vent all of these tanks so you don't have a big air buildup when you start using them. And then a 45-degree that's been fit on the other end. These rubber bushings are great. You put the pipe down in, it goes down in about 1.5 inches, and then it will get a hose clamp around here to secure it. I've put this street 45 in here so it would go straight in here without needing another connector. So when we put this guy in place, it'll drop right down in here, sit right there so you can see where that's sitting. Here's the shower pan So when the shower pan gets into place, you'll see that that's going to line up perfectly right there. Now this is also not required. You could glue in a fixed joint here. I'm actually going to use one of these flexible connectors in all of my connections. Again, just taking this off-road, things are going to move a little differently, and this will just have it a little give when they're there. So that will go in there, that will be secured once we get this shower pan in place. Now, the black tank is not directly under the toilet, but there are two 45s. So you can see videos all over the internet about the poo pyramid that might form in here. So it's important, to get your black tank maintenance correct. The right chemicals, a little liquid in there. But because there's only two 45s, in a pinch, you could run a stick or rod or something down in there from inside the toilet. Not the most glamorous thing, but things happen that you don't plan on. So again, here's the tank that we have in here. We have these straps that are actually all bent individually to go with the bends of the tank. We've used this bender that we got from Northern Tool. Really inexpensive and great tool that'll do a lot of different radii. So I picked this die that had about the same radius as the edge of the tank. So that when we bend this, and we have 1/8" rubber that we're going to put inside of all of these, but so that this fits right here, and you can see as these drop into these holes. I'm going to cradle that tank really nicely there. That tank's not going to go anywhere once we get 3 of those straps on there. So you'll see the gray water line coming out over here. So this is the black tank. Again, this is the entirety of the black water system. Toilet to the black tank, that's it. Probably oversized for what we need for 2 adults and a couple kids camping, but better to have a black tank that's not completely full than wonder what to do with one that's over full. So this is going to be our gray water tank. This is another Class A custom tank. Wherever possible, I've kept the weight of all these tanks as close to the axle line as possible. So these spindles will end up getting bolted on here. So this is going to be our axle line here. Again, these Timbren components you can see are just really beefy, really well made. So you can get this in a 4-inch lift, 2-inch lift, neutral, 2-inch drop, or 4-inch drop. So a lot of flexibility on down the line. If you ever choose to change how you're going to do the height of your trailer. So again, you can see here, the gray water tank is kept very close to this axle. So as water comes in and out, the fresh water tank is going to mount directly above that. The frame again is upside down right now. But I'm trying to get the flow right in all of my things. So here's the shower drain. This will come over here. I haven't connected this pipe yet, but this will connect. You're going to 90-degree off this for a sink that's over here that's getting built in the side that you'll see when we flip this upside down. This gray 90-degree here is for the vent for this tank. Again, we have to make sure everything is vented. These are both unpressurized tanks. So there's no pressure that's going in either one of these tanks. And this was fit and refit, and I moved these up and down on paint cans and wooden blocks and everything to get the fall just right for these. Because again, when we open the drain, we want it to drain. We don't want it to just come out. So this is about just under 19 inches. And the place we're going here is just over 20 inches. So we've got about just an inch of fall. And if we have about 3 feet, we're just over a 1/4 inch per foot. About 1/3 of an inch per foot, which is pretty much exactly what we want for a trailer. We have about the same amount of fall in the gray line here. So there's a lot of different moving pieces that were put in place. I've revised this probably about 19,000 times in CAD. And then again, once I started working on all these things. So we've got the main components here. We're pretty much set. I did this upside down because I think this is a lot easier to put these in place without having to hang them from the straps upside down and readjust all of these things. Just being careful to remember that the drain point that you want is going to be higher than where it's coming from, not lower, because we're upside down. So, just a little minor thing. You can see that we've got the tires and wheels here Got some Kenda tires, which we've had very good experience with. Because we're Toyota fans, we actually got a hoist for the spare tire that uses the Toyota crank. Not totally secure. We might end up putting a padlock on here, I don't know. But we're gonna end up mounting this right in here on one of the motorcycle racks that you'll see as we go. So that spare tire will hoist up right in this void here, carrying very nicely. So that's where we're at on the build for right now. You can see the hitch has been drilled. We've welded a plate on here for a jack that will rotate up out of the way. Pretty much everything we need to do with the upside down is done, other than bolting these tanks into place, adding our little rubber straps, and then we're ready to flip this right side up and start making it look a lot more like a trailer. So there you go. Let me know if you have any questions.